My name's David. I am 27 years old from Sheffield, and the word I would use to describe my lockdown love is tricky.
Hi, I'm Lucy. I'm 20 and I'm from Staffordshire. And if I could describe lockdown love in one word, I would say challenging.
My name's Jasmine. I'm 22 and I'm from Coventry. And if I had to describe my experience of lockdown love, it would be difficult.
Hi, I'm Harry. I'm 20. I'm from Wigan, and I would describe my lockdown love experience as different.
Hi, my name's Jess. I'm 24 and I'm from Sheffield. If I could describe love in lockdown in one word, I would describe it as exciting.
And why is that, David? Why would you describe it as tricky? And why would you say challenging? Why difficult? Different? Okay, why different? Oh, so that's so different from all the other people that I've spoken to so far. So tell me why it's exciting for you.
So my girlfriend lives in Scotland, so there's a lot to contend with in that respects of distance and travelling to see each other and the cost of travelling to see each other, and being so far away from each other has been really difficult and has been a struggle on both our halves. And sometimes we have lost communication or things have got lost in translation because there's only so much you can do over Zoom or FaceTime or anything.
Exactly.
But we have been able to iron everything out. We've actually got better at communicating because of how tricky it's been, which has been a real positive. And we've only been going out for just over a year.
Oh, wow.
But we've counted it up. We've seen each other 7 times within that year. So that in itself has been tricky. And
I know it seems obvious, but how has that actually been for you? If I could just open up your chest and see your little heart, because you know when you miss someone and you really like them, I don't know if you've said love yet. Well, after a year, you must have said love. I don't know. It's like, if I could open your chest, David, what would it say to me? Like, how has that actually felt?
Oh, it would say, like, I really need to see my Mel, like, now. I just want to get on a train, head up to Scotland, just give her a massive hug when I'm off the train, and screw everything else. Obviously, we have to, like, obey the law and everything. She's an occupational therapist, so we've been very careful to, like, not pass anything on to her, patients or anything.
Of course.
But you'll see a very sad but determined man in there.
On that, how do you feel now you've seen Boris's roadmap out of lockdown? How do you feel, positive that there is an end? Have you made any plans?
We both feel very positive that the end is coming and that we will see each other soon. The only other problem is there's Boris's roadmap and Nicola Sturgeon's exit plans.
Oh my gosh, of course.
So we've always had to contend with the two of those throughout the whole of lockdown and everything.
It's extra
so sometimes, exactly. So sometimes, England have been like, yes, we can go, but Scotland have been like, no, and vice versa. So it's really just that to contend with is just like,
I think it's been hard seeing other couples kind of carry on as if we haven't got any restrictions. I think that's been one of the hardest things, and also just not knowing when it's going to end and not knowing sort of when we're going to see each other again, and not being one of the sort of priorities for the government when they think about easing restrictions as well. I think that's hard.
Yeah, and what is your situation then with your boyfriend?
So we do long distance. He lives in Lancashire and I live in Staffordshire, and normally we see each other at uni, but as students, again, everybody's sort of been at home mainly, so haven't really seen each other at uni this year.
Yeah, and how many times have you managed to see each other, do you know? Has it been just predominantly virtual this whole time? How long have you been together as well?
So we've been together since February 2019, and we've probably seen each other maybe 5 or 6 times since the March last year, I think.
That's so difficult. How I know it's difficult, we've only just met, and I'm not your psychologist or your counsellor, so I can't, just open you up, but tell me how that feels.
It's hard, I think. I think especially at the start, it was really hard because it was just obviously scary because of the pandemic anyway, and not having sort of someone there when you always normally have them when things are sort of difficult. And yeah, I think it is just hard, and it's not nice, you know, having, especially being young and having sort of like when we were meant to go on holiday and all of that sort of thing. It's just having all of that taken away, which is quite hard.
Honestly, I relate to you though, because me and my boyfriend got together in Jan 2019, so I totally get it. It's difficult as well, because I'm 22, but you know, we're the same age really, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's difficult being in your early 20s and then having to contest with, you know, this stereotype that young people, they're all off like having sex. I know we're not. Or they're all like with their boyfriend all the time. They're all out partying, doing this, that, and the other. And in reality, we're in a relationship, but we're just texting like.
Yeah. And you get fed up of Zoom and stuff, don't you? You get fed up of just seeing each other on camera.
And the Zoom quizzes, but that's more to do with like their families. Tell me how you feel about Boris's roadmap out of lockdown. Have you made plans to see each other, or is one of you more reluctant?
I think I feel like they didn't really sort of say much about established relationships. I know there's sort of hints that like May or June, but again, it never seems to sort of be mentioned. It's always sort of hinted at with general family contact, and reluctant to make plans, I think, both of us, because we don't want to be disappointed then if we say we want to see each other in April and then it gets to April we can't. So I think we've just learnt to just sort of wait and see what happens, I think.
Me personally, me and my partner, we've been together for 4 years, almost 5, it'll be 5 in May, and the rules have meant we can't legally like even hug or hold hands, and it's difficult. And especially because there's so many other countries that have allowed couples to be together. I think Belgium have like a buddy system, and Scotland, I know, allow it. And everything has had to be either socially distanced or virtual, like all of our big milestones. So it's just been so difficult.
And how is it as well? Because I've spoke to a few couples that have been like going out for a month or a year, but to be together for 4 years, you know, you're in a concrete relationship, you're in an established relationship. So how does it really feel? And again, I know I'm not your counsellor, but I want to know like how it actually feels to go from probably seeing each other regularly, maybe seeing each other like a few times a week or whatever, to go into just virtual.
It's so difficult, like especially mentally, because there's so like people my age, a lot of them do live with their partners already, but we live with our parents. And it's so difficult to see other people like being, you know, all coupled up at home, and I'm just like, oh, I just wish that like we can't even like hold hands, like. And it's been like that for it'll be almost a year. I think we did have a month where it was allowed, but that got taken off the Gov website.
And I know it sounds like a little bit cliche in that sense, like has it made you stronger? And you don't have to just answer yes, because if it hasn't, tell me, because I've seen a lot of people go, oh, it's made us a stronger couple, but for a lot of couples it nearly broke them. So is that always true?
I would say it feels like, well, if we've made it through a year of lockdown, we can make it for anything, but it has been really difficult. Especially when one of you is having a bad day and it's like, I just want to like give you a hug, but I can't, and then you get upset because they're upset, so that has been difficult. But I think it's just difficult.
I know. And now we see a way out of this, Boris's roadmap, so he calls it. How do you feel about the dates that he's set? Have you two made any plans, or are you just waiting to see what happens?
Well, I was on Monday, I was quite upset because our anniversary is on the 1st of May. So I was like, I remember like I actually had hope for once, and it just being like, oh, okay, it's the 17th, at least it's May, so we can still do something in May, but we'll just do a virtual day on that day, because even if we can go for a socially distanced walk, it's weird.
I mean, I got with my girlfriend in the middle of or just after the first lockdown had properly kicked in, so in March of last year.
Wow.
and I originally lived with her in the same uni flat in first year. We all went home for lockdown. We got together. We'd been flirting or whatever for ages. Got together.
Oh yeah, shooting your shot and all that.
Got together in the March, and then essentially had from March until late September, just all over the phone. Oh. So that was the first 7 months of the relationship. Which, I mean, afterwards we said a lot in terms of it. It made it was there was a lot of benefits to it in terms of it helps make you a stronger relationship if you can overcome that. That was the big go-to, was that once you can overcome so often, so long being apart, because she lives at the other side of the country, then it helps you, the relationship, be stronger. But then we came back in September, and then it's like the honeymoon period that you were originally meant to have was in September, if you get what I mean. It was fantastic for about 4 months, and then everyone has to go home for Christmas. And now she's not here now, and it's harder in terms of, I think difference the main thing. It's not a conventional relationship whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem, isn't it? Because I've spoken to a few people as well who kind of actually met in the middle of lockdown, but for you to have basically met when lockdown was happening, you've kind of had to get to know each other over the internet more than in person. But the thing is, with that honeymoon period as well, is that you can't experience that virtually. No. So it will then set in when you meet up. But I wonder, with Boris's roadmap or whatever he calls it now in place, how do you feel about the way that we're supposed to get out of lockdown? Like, as a couple, have you made plans for anything? Are you excited?
Well, I think she's more tentative in terms of coming, regardless of the roadmap. She's less gung-ho, maybe not the word, in terms of jumping straight back into stuff. Both of her parents are frontline NHS workers.
Oh, wow.
Very understandably, doesn't want to risk anything. Her herself, she isn't comfortable with the virus and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm already back in our shared house in our unit house in Sheffield. So from my point of view, I want to do everything to kind of make sure she gets back here as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Well, I think I probably need to come to terms with the fact that, I can run around and make it as safe as possible or whatever, but that's not going to change, her decisions regardless.
So me and my partner met coming up 2 years ago, and we courted for a while and didn't really take it to the serious next level. And then when we got announced we were in lockdown, we were like, oh great, that's our relationship sort of on pause. So we went 4 months not seeing each other and just doing window visits and that sort of stuff, and it was really, really difficult, but we got through it. And then in between the 2 lockdowns, we just thought, we've been talking about it anyway, let's just do it. And we rented a house together. So we moved house in between the lockdowns. And I wouldn't recommend it. It's really stressful because nowhere's open for when things go wrong. But it's nice because I couldn't imagine now not living with him. Yeah. And it's just sort of confirmed everything we both already felt.
Yeah. You are in love.
Yeah, it's still a little bit of a honeymoon period, I think.
Oh, that's lovely. And how do you think you would have coped if you had been apart this whole time and it had been a more virtual relationship and you hadn't made that step to move in together?
I feel like we would have coped, but by the time then we'd have seen each other, we would have spent more time in a virtual relationship than we would have not in one.
Yeah.
And I think sort of adapting to that afterwards might have been difficult. And also I'm quite an intimate person. I words and stuff are lovely, but I have to have yeah, exactly. I have to have the person actually physically there.
Yeah.
So I would have coped, but it would have been really difficult, and I think we definitely made the right decision for us.
Yeah. And how did you actually sort of manage to move in the middle of a pandemic? Like you say, everything was shut, but surely like it must have been so difficult.
So we were quite fortunate because I still had a lot of my furniture from uni.
Right.
So most of that is now in our new house. It was a lot of online shopping, a lot of him trusting my taste and just saying,
like that.
here are my savings. I trust you to like set up our house. It was just after, I think it was like the week after we got told like you're allowed to meet one other person outside, and we were like, okay, go for a bike ride. So we did, and then I got a phone call from this letting agent that we'd been speaking to, and she just said, oh, that house on the road you like's come available, do you want it? Wow. And I was like, I just turned to Tom and he was like, shall we? And we were like, yeah, let's do it. And literally, so we went out for a bike ride and we came back with a house.